All right.
You're live.
All
The
right.
link? The link? Should I go to your wall? Okay. Just just share it on Facebook. Let me check.
Mm.
Just copy and post it on your Facebook pages.
Mm. Mm. Okay.
Just share it on Facebook. Have you shared?
Not yet.
I have. Just copy and post it on your Facebook pages.
I put it there. It's in the page.
Yeah, I've done it.
And if you could send it to me
I
from my
have.
Facebook page.
Okay.
Well, send me a WhatsApp link.
Now, do you want me to do it on your wall as well?
Yes, you can. And
Okay. Don't worry.
I've done it.
and
So my
then you tag.
No, I'm sharing it on all their walls so that more people can see us.
Good evening, everybody. Sorry for the 1 minute delay. Welcome to Kiki's Chat Show. Today's chat is going to be quite interesting because it is a little bit sad in a way. At the same time, too, it is something, it's a learning curve for all of us. We're all going to try and learn from it. I've got 3 powerful ladies here with me. These ladies are, I've met, I've chatted, and I am absolutely in awe of them. I don't want to waste time, so I will give you the thought for the week. The thought for the week this week is choose your associations wisely. Surround yourself with good company. Build a strong support system that is loyal and faithful and true. Your circle will love you, and you will love them. Do not make friends because they are beautiful. Do not make friends because they are rich. Do not make friends because you're going to get something out of them. Make friends because you enjoy each other's company. Have a friend that you will have their back. Because when they know it, they will have your back. Life is so fragile these days. Choose your associations wisely. Now today I have to introduce my guest. It's amazing. I have 3 powerful women. My first guest is somebody that you've met, you know already, and it's Charlene Ifwa Apea, my own resident erotic author. She has written a book that blew my mind, and from then on we have been friends, and you know the rest is history. She's been on the show a few times, and you have all met her. She's one versatile woman. She's an international author, a makeup artist, you know, international she's international everything, makeup artist, and now she's embarking on her way and nearly there to become a lawyer. And her whole deal is to help women, widows, women who need representation and she is one of those who is in my friend circle. I am blessed to have her as my friend. And this is what it is. We think alike, we laugh at the same things, and she has my back as I have her back. Now, my other guest is Ngozi Onwuna. How do you spell your how
Bless
do
you. Onwanibe.
Is Onwanibe. Okay. Now, she is a mother of a beautiful girl. She has held senior leadership roles in school safeguarding across several local authorities in the UK. So she travels, and safeguarding means protecting children in places, at home, at school, at play. And they deal with all of the issues regarding children. Over the past few years, she's been working in an independent safeguarding consultant, providing local authorities support around practice and leadership improvement. So Ngozi is passionate about children and young people and a great ethical leadership. So she deals with ethics and leadership regarding children and young people. Ngozi is a serial entrepreneur alongside giving talks on safeguarding leadership, runs her own unique costume jewelry. And the address of her jewelry is Jewelry by Marie Therese. Is that it? Marie
That's it. Thank you.
Jewelry
Yeah,
by
and there I'm
Marie
wearing them.
Therese. And she's wearing her jewelry, rings, necklaces. Ngozi has a lot of neckties, bangles, everything. So if you want specific, beautiful, stylish jewelry, contact me. Contact Jewelry by Marie Therese. But I'll put it in the comment section so that everyone can kind of see what she does. Now, my final guest is, she's known as, she calls herself Nana Sapon, but I knew her as Michaela Joyce Tete. And she currently takes time off. She had surgery and she started marketing, but she works for herself. She does decor, children's parties. She does these fancy flower things that I've heard about. I haven't seen, but someone mentioned that she's very stylish. She can do up your whole party decorations, etc. And she makes custom-made clothes with a friend. She has a shop called Studs in Accra.
Yes.
So all my ladies are powerful in their own right. Now, they have all, including me, have experienced deep bereavement. And today we're going to talk about bereavement, which will enter into the death of Chad Boswell. I don't know, is that his name? Chadwick,
yeah.
Chadwick, who was the Black Panther. Yeah, and then we're also going to talk about the situation where the Ghanaian pastor in America, Florida, who assassinated his wife outside her place of work, which was such a shock to everyone who heard it. And it's still a topic in the whole of Ghana and outside of Ghana in the diaspora. And we still cannot reconcile our minds to it. I don't know who wants to start, but we need to talk about any, if you feel like sharing the effects of a close person's passing away and how it affected you. Maybe Ngozi should start.
Well, it's really difficult. Bereavement affects people in very different ways. For me, I lost 3 members of my family and my mother-in-law, making 4 within 9 months, which was really shocking. Each death was quite different. One was my brother, my only brother. The other was my mum, who followed suit, my dad, and my mother-in-law. A real shocking. First of all, you don't want to believe that someone you love has died. You feel, well, I felt senseless. I felt scared. I felt, it's interesting. I'm a 50-year-old woman going to be 51 this year. And I felt like parts of me were missing. And knowing that as the oldest child, I had lots of responsibilities, but it hits you. I am still going through the bereavement grieving process. Some days are good and some days aren't. When I say good, I carry on every day like everything's fine, like everybody else. COVID-19 has taken over your life, so you don't have time to grieve so much. But in my quiet time, or sometimes when I've spoken to somebody else, or I watch something on television, I then remember either my mother, my brother, my sister. And I think the other day, what I saw was all my family. I just remembered that they died within a short space of each other. And that for me was shocking. And I had to call someone to pray for me. So it's very difficult. I don't know what the other lady, but I remember going numb, not crying. And then what made it even more difficult for me, in particular with my dad's death, and my mother-in-law's death, which happened just around when the UK put in the lockdown. I couldn't go back home, and I had to make the painful decision to not go to Nigeria and make the decision that the burial of my dad should go ahead without me. It took me a couple of months to deal with that, just come to that decision, really. Yeah, but I'm
It's
getting there a day at a time. And now, how do I cope? I remember the nice things about my dad. I remember my mother-in-law. You know, she was really funny. She spoke her mind. It's really different from my mum. My mum was such a lady, and my mum, was one of those who, if you said, "Mum, is this black or no?" There's a bit of black in it. There's a bit of white. She just never wanted to offend anyone. She was a diplomat to the T. Or then I remember my dad, who was, I was a real daddy's girl. So, when I'm going through stuff, I just remember what he says. And yeah, I go between remembering them for very nice things and then getting. And we're all big women. I mean, my last sister is in her 30s, early 30s. But there is something that happens when you lose a parent. One of the things that struck me when I went to Nigeria for my mum's burial was that my mum wasn't there to receive us. There was no one there to cook, run around. We had to make that decision. I remember when I said to my sister, "Oh, we'll be coming home," and my sister said, "Who's going to do the cooking?" I said, "What do you mean, who's going to do the cooking? We'll be there." She said, "Ngozi, we're all coming. We'll all be coming as visitors because we're all married." I thought, "Oh my word, my mom would have been there to organize all those things." So we had to get someone else to do it. So it's for anyone who's going through it. Mine is still a new experience. It does get better, but there will be times when things will be hard.
Yeah, it's the memory that we
It's
kind
the
of hold.
memories.
Yeah.
It's the
Taylor.
memories.
Yeah. Well, my journey started 16 years ago. I lost my husband. He was a very good person. And it was difficult to process it. I mean, I couldn't believe he wasn't going to be coming back home, buried him. Life went on, but it wasn't the same. You know, it changes you. Death changes you. Um, life is difficult. You try to make life better. You take it one day at a time, but it gets complicated. Even though there's nothing making it complicated, it's complicated. You don't know how to deal with some days. Some days are fine, some days are not so fine. I lost my husband, then his parents died 3 months after, apart, 6 years later. And then, excuse me, my mother died out of the blue. She just died. I mean, this is somebody who was so strong. And my dad always said to us that, oh, mommy will outlive me. And I want you guys to take care of mommy. And then mommy dies, and we're all confused because she was not the one to die. He had conditioned us to think he would die and she would be there. Then my mother dies on Monday. 4 days later, my older brother died from cancer. And that was a blow. 3 weeks later, we laid them in state, and it was confusion. I mean, I had to find two people from one home lying in state in the living room and in church, and my brother lies in front of my mother at the cemetery. It's a bit unbelievable. I mean, you can say someone will die today and someone will die maybe 2 years later, but in 4 days, it was total confusion. But my brother survived it, but not for long. And then he had multiple strokes. He spent all the time in hospital. I had to stop working. But you're never the same because you can't seem to process that loss. You need to be in there to understand. I mean, that's when you understand what others have gone through. If if how do I put it? If someone would hear your story and think you're making a fuss, that you've lost so much and it's no big deal. It's only when they're in your shoes then they understand how you actually feel, and it's painful. You're not going to see these people again. We have all these hopeful messages that come your way, but it's never the same. It's hard. I mean, I know my husband is gone, my mother's gone, my father's gone, my brother's gone, but there's this emptiness that I'm thinking we should have been able to maybe live longer. I mean, it's confusing, is is hurting. You can't even explain it too well sometimes.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of hope. We have God, and we kind of move on day by day.
Yeah.
And it would be nice that people would appreciate what you go through and not really criticize you. But if they could only understand you from that point.
Yeah.
So this is what I would say. Yeah,
What about
it's
you,
hard.
Paul? How do you view death and the number of people who died in your life that have affected you, and how death actually affects us all, really, even in different ways?
I don't do death well. I know saying that it sounds like I'm saying other people do death well. I don't, in the sense that finding out at a young age that your mother died 2 days after your birth changes everything about you. So I've always been a joker, but a melancholic, because you always wish you had other you. I have lived, I've had sisters, brothers, and aunts, sorry, who have all helped to raise me. And I'm grateful for that. But my real journey of pain started 16 years ago when Michaela's husband passed, because I had promised him I was coming to Ghana. I got to Ghana, he was alive. However, through miscommunication, I never got to see him, and he passed the next day. So someone who was going to Ghana to encourage a brother-in-law, a friend, I ended up going into a funeral home and then going around helping to choose a coffin. It's very weird because I found at the time Michaela was much stronger than I was. I was in pieces, and her mom, may her soul rest in peace, she held it together for us.
Yeah.
From Tony's death, every 9 months, someone very close to me, my aunt who raised me, died suddenly on Mother's Day. And then, your sister, your 2 sisters, I mean, so many deaths, close friends. It was, every time I would have to call Nana and I'll say, Nana, this person has died. And then we both cry. And then as we getting on her side, so it's just been death. I don't get to process and finish grieving, and then another one happens. So for me, death has been, and it's always sudden death, except my dad's, who I'll say was old age at 96. He was the only one that I must say I did not grieve too much because I'd made my peace. He'd taken care of me, even though I'd wanted him to live to 100 and then I would be 50. We celebrate centenary, golden year, and then he would say bye-bye. But God had his own plan. So for me, I don't process, I don't deal with death well. It affects me really badly, and I find that I draw my strength from people like, Michaela, Candy, Ngozi, Delis, people who are strong, people who will push you, people who will laugh with you, people who will encourage you. Sometimes what I find is the empathy you expect from certain people is non-existent. And I don't know whether they think when they say certain words to you, because when my sister Afi died, a very close friend called me and asked me, is she your biological sister? Does she come from the same mother and father? And I'm thinking, gosh, I've lost a sister. I'm bawling. You're asking me this, is this going to bring her back? Are you trying to say that if we don't come from the same parents, then I shouldn't grieve? You see? And then we also come with that cliche word, it is well. What is well about death? Come on. What is well about death? Until you are in those shoes, you think twice when saying it is well to somebody. I feel that, it is us, the bereaved ones, who are supposed to say it is well when you call to give your condolences. And, sometimes not saying anything is the best thing. Just sitting down quietly, listening to the person. A hug, if you are in proximity, will do. But we should try and have more empathy towards someone who is grieving. And there's no one way to grieve. somebody goes into deep shock and might not cry for months. I, unfortunately, am the one who will immediately go into melt down and start bawling. So when people are grieving, they've lost a loved one, I think they should be left alone to deal with their grief the way they see best. So that's my take on deaths and bereavement.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for everyone bearing their heart out and describing how each individual felt about bereavement, how much they've gone through, and how they are still thundering on. Because one of the things for me that, even though my mother passed away, my beloved father, who I thought was so powerful and would never die, died. My mother was so happy in life. I thought happy people didn't die, kind, happy people. She died. I thought, the only person who passed away who I could actually reconcile my mind with was my grandmother, because she was over 90. And I kind of thought, if, she's lived a good life and she's done so many things, we always remember her. So if she's passed away, let her rest. Everybody else who's died since is a shock to my system. However, we are thundering on because we also have people behind us and we have to do our best before we pass away. One of the things which shook me actually was when Chadwick Boseman died, because none of us know him personally. The majority of us just watched the film and saw him being the Black Panther, and we were all so proud of how he had made Black Panther made Ghanaians think, wow, Africans all over the world, we wish we could have had our countries in that way. And we kind of thought one day our countries will become like that. And we wanted, I especially was in love with the female army. That was what I love those women. I am that type. I am in love with strong women with armor. If I had a gun, people would die. I'm telling you. So we thank God that I do not have a gun.
Yeah.
Now, having said all that, the time has gone so much that we can't talk so much about Chadwick anymore and the effect it had on us or our children, etc. So we have to swiftly move on. But I wish him resting in peace, because he was buried just 2 days ago. And I hope that his family can deal with this horrible, horrible, shocking news. What we really want to spend time on to talk about is the sad story of this lady called Barbara, who was gunned down by her husband. Now, her husband, the shocking part of the story is that he was a pastor. Now, if any of you have your Facebook page on, you can silence it. You can silence, or you can have it on, but silence it so that we don't hear ourselves in echo. I keep hearing ourselves. One of the sad things is he was a pastor. Now, how we ask ourselves, how is it possible that a pastor can kill a woman? But the story is, and if you don't know, I will tell you so that we all discuss it here. The story is that this woman was in her church. She's in a church separate from not this pastor's church. She's in her own area, the church she goes to. She's a Sunday school teacher, and she teaches Sunday school. Now, this man and his brother were invited to come and preach in their church. When he came, the elder of the brothers said in the congregation that he had a vision that his brother would marry Barbara. Now, Barbara had never met him. She'd never seen him before. Ooh. It was a new thing to her. And this a prophecy. Now, because they are Christians and they believe in pastors and prophecy and the whole Christian gamut, they accepted it. And this man then courted her for a short while, and they had an amazing wedding. I saw the wedding video. I sent it to all of you so that you saw it. And then, at the slightest provocation, he would beat her up. At the slightest thing that she did after marriage. So she was in a domestic violence situation where her husband was he shouldn't get cross, because if he did get cross, he would beat her up. And he beat her up to the point where her brother got involved, came in, fought him, then took her away. And the next day, from her house to her office place of where she works in a bank, he followed her, called her, and shot her at the door of her workplace. Somebody's device is on, so please switch off your devices. Now, I can hear myself still. Now, this is something that today we're not talking too much about domestic violence, but we can broach on it, because I think that sometimes one of the things that struck me was the family, the brother, and all of them are going to regret ever setting eyes on the man. My question to all three of you is, each one can tell me, and I can still hear myself, is should you believe a pastor who comes in the first time you set eyes on him, says to you that he had a vision that his brother would marry your sister, your daughter, your niece, and you would let her marry him? Is it normal? I want Ngozi, to tell me, would you do that?
Well, I personally wouldn't do that. But I do know, and I don't want everyone to think that, you can meet someone and it wouldn't work. Yes, there are people who meet people and suddenly they find themselves in love and whatever. But one, it depends on the personality. But two, again, like one of the things you said was the Christians, and I have found she's not unique in this. I've heard lots of people who have said, or someone who's met them being he's a pastor, meet them, there's a vision to get married. How on earth would you do that? Uh, people do it. It's worked for one or two people. In her case, it hasn't worked. My question would be, what kind of feedback did they get? What did how did they know about this? And there must have been, I would like to think that someone did some investigation. Where I come from, in Nigeria and Igbo land, Igbos are well known. You meet someone and then you start doing what we call checks. Where is this person from? Who are the parents? What do they do? Is there any kind of use or whatever? So I really don't understand why she did that. Now, regardless, they got married. He was now abusive to her. Why did she leave the relationship? I know that I'm a social background, so I understand how difficult it is to leave an abusive relationship. And I don't know whether there were children there. But her brother, I can't just imagine how her family feel about this. Devastated, it's shocking. But what about the church? What is their responsibility? We only think about one part of religion, and sometimes people are so attached to their pastors that they become demigods to them. At the end of the day, it's really about, for me, it's not even about whether you're a pastor or whatever. Why would you do that to another human being? That surely whatever you believe in tells you don't take another person's life, even on that basis. That's enough, isn't it?
Yeah. What about you? And my question to you, Michaela, is what is this thing about a pastor saying he had a vision and then people believe it? What is that?
Personally, I think people have gotten to the point where I think we are not praying for ourselves. We are believing that others have to pray for us all the time. So whatever you come and tell me has to be kosher. It's just like someone saying, if you don't read the Bible for yourself, you're not going to find out what is in there. And we've seen a few videos where people have quoted Bible passages and had wrong quotations. So if you're not going to check for yourself, this is what is going to happen. So yes, these are stories that are happening, and it happens in Ghana. The other day, I was listening to a program on one of the radio stations, and it's a family-oriented program, and a gentleman called in, and he said his wife doesn't speak to him properly. She shouts at him. She tells him, "You're on your own. You need to take care of this. You need to take care of that." But as soon as they get to church, she kneels in front of the pastor. She calls him daddy, and daddy needs me to do this, and daddy needs me to do that. So the gentleman in there said, "Your wife has lost her priorities, and it's the fault of the church that these things are going on. When you see that the family is making a mistake, you're supposed to correct it. You're not supposed to encourage it." So like Ngozi said, pastors have become demigods and they are enjoying the position. And we are finding ourselves where we are finding ourselves now.
That is so true. What about you? And your question is, I'm talking to Charlene. Charlene, your question is, yes, all of this is happening. If you went to church and with a friend, because and the pastor suddenly pointed at you and said, "You are going to marry my brother. I've had a vision as I'm standing here right now. You're going to marry my brother." What would you do?
I'll just laugh. I'll just laugh. Actually, it's something similar has happened to me where, someone had a vision that I was going to be a pastor's wife. And I said to her, "Let that pass me by." And she's like, "Oh, why wouldn't you want to be a pastor's wife?" And I'm like, I know me. I am spiritual. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. But I'm not a pastor worshiper. So therefore, we're going to clash because I read the Bible. I understand the Bible. And where I don't believe it concerns me, I'll definitely be having problems with the pastor. So I'm not going to be a good pastor's wife. I can't be that first lady thing. I'm someone who likes to be free, not to be in a bubble, not to be put on a pedestal. I even refuse to be the queen. In Ghana, they call Queen Mother. I refused it because I don't like being put in a pedestal. I like being my normal person, happy life, because being a pastor's wife, you are perceived differently. You are expected to, lead a certain life. But I honestly love to be myself, be able to voice out my feelings, dress the way I want to dress and I see fit. So honestly, that title, First Lady, won't work for me. So if a pastor said, "Oh," I'll say, "Well, it's not coming from God. But God knows what I want." And when I go on my knees and pray, trust me, Candy, he always delivers. So he knows it's my prayer. Never, to be a pastor's wife.
Okay. I mean, I can put my 2 cents in to say that there is never a time that other people or I felt comfortable when other people have prayed for me. Every time they say, "Oh, let's go in for me," I always feel I don't even pay attention because I kind of have the belief that God answers my prayer when I pray. I need to pray. I need to tell him my own thing. I don't need an assistant. I don't need a middleman. I don't see how our life has become so needy that we need these pastors to become the middleman to deal with our issues. Do people not understand that God is there for all of us? I don't get it. I cannot see a snivelly little man standing in a pulpit praying for me. How? How? This whole God just me. I have to speak to God myself. I need to do this myself. So anyway, another question that was beating my mind is, if your partner was really lovely and beautiful and lovely and wonderful to you, and then after you got married, their attitude changes, what would you do and how would you deal with it? A few people sent, when I sent this advert out, a lot of people were asking me if it is because of this situation in Florida. And then were asking me what I thought. Am I speaking about domestic violence? And if it is domestic violence, what do we, because some people, and 2 women actually said they were in that situation where their husbands nearly killed them. I immediately was on the phone calling her and saying, "My God, you never said this to me before." She said, yes, her husband nearly killed her, but she had to leave. She had to leave and she hid in one of these halfway houses.
In a refuge.
Yeah, a refuge. And then from there, she had to move from the city where she lived and moved somewhere else and then had a new life. Otherwise, she felt the man would kill her. And it all started with little things like, there's too much salt, there's too much pepper, you were rude to my mother, you were rude to my brother, on, and then it became head-on collisions. So my question to Ngozi, for example, is how would a person, because you are a social worker, and if you didn't know him like that before and he became like that, what then would you do? Or what would you advise someone to do?
You need to seek help. A lot of women, and I know it's difficult, because you have to see things from both sides. It's easy when we're outside. For some women, it's clear cut. You talk to them rudely or you're abusive to them, you lay a hand, they tell you they're out. They don't waste their time. They know they've got it. For others, it's a process. They think about a lot of things. I don't know what it is. So, for example, I'd probably say that being a Christian, for how probably, what would people say? What would people say? What would my relatives say? There might be some economic paybacks there. There might be some investment in the relationship, but you have to value your life. You of course you try to make things work. Some people do. You go for counseling, but if it isn't working, you leave. There are people out there who can help. Some people don't know that there are organizations that can. I can speak for the UK. There are lots of organizations that can help. This woman who is a pastor, people keep talking about her and the husband. They don't mention any children. So I'm thinking they probably didn't have any children at the time. No children. So again, it's left to the adults to make that decision, or family to come in. And I understand her brother was there and was trying to get her out of the home. Now, if she had children, for instance, and wasn't empowered enough to leave the relationship, we as social workers have a duty to protect the children. So we remove the children. We get the children to stay with the relative who, obviously who they've been assessed or whatever. If she wasn't empowered at the time to make that decision herself, because they are minors. Somebody could be hurt. The children are there listening to what's happening, and people don't even think about the impact of these going on long term when these children are growing up, in terms of behavior, in terms of, school achievements in school, in terms of relationships. But it's you have to make that decision. That is why, again, going back to your intro, Candy, where you said having good friends, having good relatives, people who will be able to talk
Yeah.
to you. Okay, if it's about money, if it's we've got your back. If it's about what people will say, and I'm shocked the church, the members of the church, didn't get involved to the extent that
Mm-hmm.
they didn't. I don't know the whole story, but it's very, very concerning for me. Now this poor woman is dead, may her soul rest in peace, and he's out there. I can't just imagine how his family would be her family would be feeling.
Charles
But
Swansea
there are
said,
people out there who can help. It's just that sometimes the information isn't out there. And sometimes, even when the information is there, people think about what people will say. I think it's mostly what people will say. What would society, and in our culture, I don't know whether it's the same for you in Ghana. It's about you're a married woman, make it work. Why would you leave? He's only just giving you a slap. He's only just giving you this. From one slap it goes to two slaps. From two slaps it's, I'm not saying that people don't recover. Some people have, the man has been abusive and they go for counseling. The root of the matter, the issue is dealt with, and either they separate or they work on the marriage, and that's and it works. Sometimes it does, but something has to give. He was violent. He made good his threats. So you take it. When someone says, I'm going to kill you, you take that.
Don't take it
I
lightly.
don't know what she's going through, and maybe there was pressure for her because she didn't have any children. Maybe that was part of it. I really don't know, but I'm just making an assumption on that because, again, culturally, there is a lot of emphasis on people. You were women, you're married, so everybody is waiting for you to have a baby, pop out a baby because you're a baby machine, and no one thinks
Mm-hmm.
about the man. And now we're talking about her. What about his responsibility as a man?
yeah, well,
How do we raise our boys?
in answer to your children question, there came a time when he stopped sleeping with her. So, according to her sister, who was interviewed on radio, she said that he wasn't
Mm-hmm.
sleeping with her. So there was no actual sexual performance for them to have children. So that's the other thing. Now,
Yeah.
coming to Michaela, is it
Mm-hmm.
possible that you can blame yourself for a change of attitude? Because if he was fine before and then he started becoming violent, etc., etc., some women do blame themselves. Now, on this program, I need to hear your views, but I need women to also listen carefully to what you're going to say.
Mm-hmm. Um, Personally, I would leave. Growing up, my father used to say, "No man should hit a woman. It's wrong for a man to hit a woman." So I remember when I was getting married, my father actually told my husband, "Tony, if you hit my daughter, I will take my daughter back." And I believe in marriage for the long haul. But if any time during this marriage I hear you hit my daughter, there's enough space in my house to accommodate her, I'll take her back. He said that. And he said, "Oh, Daddy, I'm not going to do that." I said, "I know you wouldn't do that, but it's something I need to tell you because my daughter is also important to me. Just the same way I'm accepting you in my home, you are going to be important to me. So I don't want anything happening to my daughter." So I have come from that point of view that I don't need to sit down for a man to hit me. It's wrong. No matter how infuriated you are, I don't think you should hit me to the point that you're going to kill me. I don't deserve to die. I mean, you don't have the right to take my life. The best thing you could do was walk out of the house and not come back, or tell me that, assuming it's your home, you tell me that I'm going to find a new place. I'm not going to live with you. That's fine with me. I won't let you do that to me.
Okay.
I mean, you see people bullying people, and I think it's wrong.
I think, as you said, I think it's our culture, but I think, Charlene, somebody is asking, and I put it up on the screen, why do our women trust pastors or religious men of God so much and put them on a pedestal? Why? Can you answer that question?
I'll try to answer it.
Yeah.
I think culturally we've been brought up to think that pastors are demigods.
Okay, go.
They are, anointed men. So therefore, they are better Christians or better men than secular men. So putting them on that pedestal from, a lot of mothers would love to say, oh, my daughter is married to so and so's so and so pastor. My daughter is the wife of so and so pastor. She's the first lady. So, culturally, Christianity plays a very big role in Ghana. There are many religions, but Christianity is the biggest religion. So, men of God. And I think up until maybe 20, 30 years ago, what I noticed was that there were many, malams, and suddenly these malams have disappeared. And, our grandmothers, yes, our grandmothers, our aunts, some of our mothers sought, when things were going wrong, sought, advice or,
Help.
deliverance from these malams to know why their marriages were going wrong. And now these malams suddenly have disappeared and have been replaced by so many anointed apostles and prophets. Therefore, the need, I think one thing with us Africans, and blacks, the need to, always have a reason why things go wrong makes us go into spirituality. So therefore, with spirituality, it's either you're going to the dark side or you're going to see, anointed men of God. This is why I believe that, these new apostles, prophets, anointed men of God are put on a pedestal.
I think you are right there. Somebody still has their phone on or they've got their Facebook page on and my sound is coming up. But even in the Bible, 2 Timothy verse 4 says, for the time will come when people will not put up with a sound doctrine. Instead, to suit their own desires, they will gather round. And that kind of means to me, my translation of that is, there comes a time when these false prophets will start to say the things we want to hear. For example, in Ghana, there is, I don't know if it's hunger and strife, but people don't get jobs they want. People are getting disillusioned. People are believing in Christianity and want to get into it, thinking that if you pray today, God will make the miracle tomorrow. People do not believe anymore. They are fed up with the fact that if you start, for example, as a carpenter, and you start slowly, as you get to know your job well, the business will flow and you will do well. People don't believe that anymore. There is some disillusionment there. And these pastors are saying, I can do this and I can make you well. And then you go home and then you go and die. They are making miracles. They are bringing lame person in a wheelchair. Then they'll pray. Whoop! then the person will get up and say, I'm walking. And then people believe that. All of these things are situations which is affecting our society. Apart from the fact that because our societies are affected and our pastors are now demigods, women especially are the ones who are more spiritual than men, or feel they need spiritual guidance. My mother was very prayerful, and I'm grateful that her time of prayer didn't involve pastors, because I think that these pastors have got into people's homes and they have now controlled them in such a way that, it's difficult. It is very difficult to get. I mean, I had a friend who, because she became close to a pastor, she just, I mean, we would plan to do something, and then she would say, well, I mean, she can't do that because the pastor, oh no, she can't do. In fact, one day she left me. We were going to a funeral, and and she just left me there and didn't even tell me anything because she was with the pastor and they were going somewhere else. So, I mean, suddenly I wasn't, because I didn't want to go to their church and join in their pastoral things. I became persona non grata and was left out of their things. And this happens all the time. It's not just me. A lot of people say it. But I am wondering that, why has a pastor suddenly become like they are more than Jesus, more than how Jesus came to be. The description of Jesus in the Bible, these present pastors are they seem more powerful than Jesus. Can any one of you tell me something about this? Charlene.
It baffles me. I'll be honest with you. It baffles me how we got there, how we got here. But one thing I do notice is that when there's even a humble, I remember years ago, I used to listen a lot to a guy preach on radio. He was very eloquent and he preached salvation, not about how to make money, prosperity, prosperity, prosperity. And, I found it strange that women will call and say, oh, can you start forming a prayer group? We will come because you're very good. You are anointed. Form a church. And then they started calling him Pastor this, Pastor that, man of God. And then the daddy bits would drop in, and I'm like, hold on. And what he used to say was, look, I'm an evangelist. My calling is an evangelist, and that's what I'll be till I die. I don't mind preaching in other churches when I'm invited, but I think all I want to do is to spread the word of God, to guide people, to know the word. So it is as human beings who are actually pushing these men, because you find women in their 50s and 60s calling these 30 something year old apostles daddy. Come on, me. I've got only 3 daddies. The one in heaven, SK Apia, who birthed me, and my papa who died and is yet to be buried. His younger brother, who took his daddy duties to a fault. Apart from these 3 2 mortals and the supreme being, I can never ever bring myself to call another human being daddy. It's beyond me seeing a 60-year-old man calling a 34-year-old apostle, oh, my papa, my daddy. And then they prostrate. Have you forgotten that Bible itself says, worship no other than me.
Yeah.
We go into, it's the women, we go into their homes, we cook for them, clean their houses, call them daddy, to our own detriment.
Yeah. Michaela, I don't know if you want to answer this one, but in view of all of this that is happening, how do you think, especially somebody like you who's had all of these tragedies, how would you imagine that the family would deal with this in view of the fact that they were aware of the tragedies, the beatings, the bullying, and all of that, and yet they somebody asked me on by email, why didn't the guy go to the police station himself and report this? Why did he say to her, go and report it? What do you think they'll be feeling now?
Obviously, they feel very bad. If I put myself in their shoes, I know they're feeling very, very bad, because you kept on listening to your sister, knowing very well that it was wrong, listening to what your sister was saying. You should have acted. You shouldn't have just listened to your sister. You should have just acted, because your sister could be alive today. I mean, like Ngozi said earlier, you don't take a threat lightly. Why would you? People say what they mean. So we need to listen to what people say when we have conversations, and you know what they mean. It's important. We shouldn't just take everything literally as in, oh, probably was a joke or was for fun. No, I don't think so. So I know
Now,
he's feeling bad.
in Ghana now, and the
Mhm.
question is still with you. I mean, we have Waju, for example, that deals
Mhm.
with women who have problems, and Waju is women. What I've forgotten what the meaning of Waju was, but Waju is a
Yeah.
governmental body that deals with women who have marital issues, being beaten,
Mhm.
etc., 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 and they need
Yeah.
help. So you go and report it to Waju, and they call the man in. Sometimes the
They don't
extreme
care.
is putting him in prison, and sometimes
Mhm.
he's fined, or you are moved, or he is moved from the house, especially if there
Mhm.
are children involved. Is there
Mhm.
any other body that deals
Mhm.
with women's issues like this, like maybe having a refuge or a way of protecting women?
I know of the ARC Foundation. That's I think Angela Jamina Boaji. She has something like that I can actually remember. But unfortunately for us, our social welfare system just doesn't work. So if you don't have family that are willing to take you in to help you, you're basically on your own. I mean,
Which
that's
then
what I have observed.
which then brings us to the whole family system. A lot of the
Mm-hmm.
time, as Charlene said, if your mother is very proud and is telling everybody that my daughter has married a pastor.
Go
When
back.
I was in Ghana when I was a young girl, pastors didn't have money. A pastor had a
Mm-hmm.
calling, and it was Christian. Now pastors
Mm-hmm.
are rich. Being a pastor
Mm-hmm.
is big business. The churches have sprouted out, and there is a church at every street, every corner has a church, and people are going to church, and you don't even know their lives haven't changed, or they are paying
No.
tithes. The priest is the one who's rich. He has
Mm-hmm.
many cars, his wife, his children. The congregation is still poor.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, how are we doing this, and how do we move people from that thought process that, oi, pray for yourself, oh, don't allow these people to do this to you?
This will be
How
for
do
Ngozi.
Ngozi,
I think
how?
it's not a straightforward answer. I believe that there's a lot of poverty in Africa. Like what Michaela said, there isn't a good social welfare system. this incident actually happened in America, so I'm hoping that they would have kind of social welfare system. I don't know, I couldn't comment on it, but I know that in Nigeria and Ghana, like you said, there's no social welfare system. People are suffering. They lure people in through giving them pittance food. And trust me, when people just don't have food and you give them a bag of rice, that for them is you're a demigod. You give them some money, little money for their children to go to school, not even for their children to go to school, because it's never enough to get the children to school. It's always something little that they give. But it's really, really difficult. People are one of the reasons again is this whole emphasis that we have on people who are ordained or who ordain themselves, or that thing about religion and Christianity, and us not having seemingly not having minds of our own, minds to be able to read something and question. In our culture, we find it difficult to question elders, find it difficult to question a pastor, a priest, because that is how we're brought up. These are figures of authority. So who are you to question them? Why would you question them? And they prey on that. Again, what you said about women. A woman will cook the best food for her pastor and would not do anything that for her husband. So again, there's strife. You spend so much time. I know her lady who was spending every day she was in church, 7 days a week, neglecting her children, neglecting her husband. But if the pastor said jump, she would drop through all hoops to do anything for him and wouldn't even be kind to anybody else. So I think for me, it's the lack of social welfare structure, it's poverty, it's the emphasis on just believing whatever people and figures of authority say to us without actually questioning and saying, actually, I don't agree with it. And there's so many other factors. One of them as well is fear. So, if you're scared, I don't know what hold this man had on her. If she was scared of him, well, I would be. Somebody was threatening me. If she was scared of him, then she wouldn't leave. He had such power over her. But I don't know why her family didn't do anything further than what they said, coming in and saying that they were going to do something. How, or maybe they did. We don't know the story, do we? We only know what's in the papers. But it is difficult where there's structures, there's no infrastructure, a lack of education. You ask someone to leave a home, but what else are you going to offer? If you say leave the home, what else are you going to offer?
Yeah, okay. I've taken in everything that you said, but she was 22 and a Sunday school teacher when the brother had that vision in the church. They'd never seen him before. He'd never seen her before, and then picked her. So I think that there was a plan and a plot to get her because he did not have papers at the time. Now, one of the things that she said in the video, and it is a video, when the brother had gone ballistic and was fighting the man because he beat his sister, was one of what then ensued in the video was that she was saying, "Oh, it's okay. It's because he doesn't have his papers. I can't divorce him," something like that. And the brother was like, "What? You, this is bad. He can't be beating you. I can't stand it. Come, let's go, blah, blah, blah." This was in a video that we all saw. Everybody saw. Now, if that is so, and we've even seen all of that, and we know that, the problem is a lot of people on the comments are saying that pastors are big business. The job of the pastors now, they are not actually interested in your soul. They are interested in your tithe. Having churches is big business. How do we deal with that and stop people from believing? And I have to say, Ngozi, that I remember you saying that there was a time when you were so low that you called a friend and said, "Pray for me, help me."
Yes, I did.
I used to pray. You see, I respect that because I used to pray with my mother. There was a time when things were really tough for me, and so my mother would call me at 6 o'clock every. My mother used to pray with my sons. She would call my boys and even pray. So, togetherness and prayer is very important. And I pray with my children even now. My son is old. My children are grown now. They've grown. They've done the university. They are working, but I still call them and we pray for me. We pray for me. I'm the one with the problems every day. So I do understand that prayer is necessary. But what I'm saying, and I'm saying it to you and to all the listeners, is why do we put our life into strangers? Why do we trust the strangers more? Why is it that a person can come to you and say, I had a vision? Why do you believe this vision? Look, we have relationships. For example, you meet a guy. I'm single. I meet a guy. The minute you start saying certain things, you can piss me off. That's it. Fuck off. This is my view. Pardon my French. But why is it that women believe them? Why? This is my question to all three of you. Why? Why do we believe outsiders? Why do we not think twice? Why do we and why is it that we worry when things are not bad or things are not going well in our relationship and family says, oh, it's okay? Why do you believe it? Why? Somebody
I think let me put a bit of tangent there. I think sometimes it's because we want instant answers. We are in that, the society is on instant. We want instant messaging, instant this, instant that. So we believe that one of our friends who's come and said to us, we went to this pastor and this pastor saw a vision and something happened. Now, whether that is true or not, we follow that person. Now, how would someone trust a stranger? Well, sometimes people don't want to talk to people who are close to them. And then you will have to think, why is that? And some about it, maybe I don't want them to know that I'm actually grieving. So, for example, I may decide I'm not going to speak to my family about what I'm going through because, either I'm going to burden them more, that stranger is independent, that stranger I've heard can perform miracles that my family can't perform. But the interesting thing is that at the end of the day, most times it's family who will rally around. And the other thing is sometimes people don't have strong family structures. Let's not assume that everyone does. Some people don't. The reasons vary. There could be one of the other reasons could be that you want an instant answer. You feel that this pastor is going to do something, so they're sold a miracle. That is what happens in the churches now. You're sold a miracle. You go into churches. As soon as somebody sees you, they tell you they've known you for years and they feel that there's something going on for you. It's always interesting. It's always a woman. Once they see a woman, there is either you're looking for a husband, you're looking for a child, things are hard for you. I mean, come on. When it's a man, it's about money. Nobody says to the man, you're looking for a child, you're looking, to be happy. And so we feel that these are true. When they say these things to us and we know one or two people that it has so-called worked for, never mind whether these are people that, who've come in and actors coming in ahead of people, some churches getting different people to come in and act like they were really ill. Has been wrong with them, and they just pay those people off. So a lot of people do that. They want instant miracles.
Charlene, what is your view on the why? And my question is why? Why are we, Ngozi has given her view and she says, and it's mostly people going because they need help. They can't have a child. They can't do this and that. Women are mostly the ones who seem to be vulnerable. Now, is there a way that we can stop this vulnerability? Or if you are vulnerable, look, I have a few friends on here, and I have one or two friends who sometimes, one day, a friend called me. She's on here listening, and she said to me, I have an idea, but before we talk about it, let us pray. So we prayed and then we talked about it, and things are happening. And this is what I'm saying to you, that when I talk about having a friend circle, which is why I began the show, this is what I'm talking about. Why can we not have that rather than to depend on a snivelly little man standing on a pulpit and telling you something which seems very far-fetched? How? Charlie,
Okay,
tell me.
I I also believe that a lot of women feel insecure,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the insecurities and the vulnerabilities, and also the fear of stigma, so they don't open up to friends. I, from, I'll say, teenage years, have always had a friend who I can talk to and not feel judged. I mean, I'm glad to say I've got a friend I've known for 45 years, and we have stayed friends. We went through trauma together, and hopefully she's watching. She knows what I mean. So we were always, helping each other emotionally. I believe that if women, supported each other by listening without, you see, it's the judgment. Sometimes you go and you pour your heart out to your female friend, thinking they'll help you with answers and, good pieces of advice. And they just, rather become judgmental. Oh, but why didn't you do this? Should have done that. So they feel, rather than that, they'll go to the pastor. I am lucky. I've also got another 1 in 2 friend who you met, Candy. She's my prayer warrior. She's my jamming partner. When things really baffle me and I think spiritually I need, help, she's my go-to. When I had my premature son, I remember, I think my friend has fallen out with me because she kept calling me, this is not of God, having a premature child. I've got these pastors, call them. And I'm like, no, I don't want anybody to use my son in future to say, oh, this child, I prayed over him and, he's who he is. I want to be able to give testimony to the glory of God himself. She gave my number to the pastors somehow. I still wouldn't pick their calls. On the day Fernando was outdoored, it's a Gar traditional ceremony. I made my friend, I know you're watching Wee Wee. I'm outing you now. I made her pray over him that day, and trust me, the heavens opened. And I look at Fernando today, and I am happy. I never gave any pastor anything, any right over my son. I'm glad I made Rita pray. And the prayer she prayed that day stays with me, because all the good things she professed on this child's life, I knew it came from the heart. I knew she wished my child well. I knew it wasn't because she wanted to go around the world saying, I prayed. She's going to kill me for saying this, but I have said it, but this is what I'm saying, that every woman should try and have one prayer partner, a prayer warrior. I know they say friends are bad, but trust me, you always have
Yes, I'm
that one
good.
friend. He goes,
Oh
these
yes.
years are tired of me whinging.
Oh
The next
yes.
years are tired of me whinging. Candice here, but I'd rather I talk to you guys.
No,
I think
I'd
the other
rather
thing
I
that's
for
talk
me,
true.
the other
to
thing
you
for
and
me
No,
though is the men. What about the men? What how do we raise our boys? So we
yes,
talk about this. Of course, women also abuse women and all that. But in this situation, how was this boy raised? If you go back and look at the history somewhere along the line, you would find either there's a history of abuse or something has happened. Why do we have our children and every time we talk we say the woman should do this, the woman could do that, the woman could. What about the
Irritating.
men? You
Okay,
know,
I think we raising boys, maybe we can
Have to
have
do
an input.
differently.
I
Mm-hmm.
always tell, even though I'm always reporting my son to Ngozi because he listens to Ngozi, I and his twin mother in Manchester, I report him to both women. However, I always, when he's doing this, I'm like, Donne, I do not want someone's daughter to suffer in future. I want you to be an upstanding man. I want you to be a helpmate. I don't want you bullying. And he understands because till today, he questions me why I had him with his dad,
uh,
why his
okay.
dad. And I know where we're going with that. So he knows I'm bringing him up to be a woman's friend, a woman's partner, a
Man.
woman's helpmate, not
Okay,
a lord.
listen. I need everyone to know today, and
Mm-hmm.
this is not prophecy or anything, but we really need to look at women and women. Look at yourself. This show is for women, by women, to women, for women. And women need to know that they have spiritual power within themselves. Do not allow a little man, and most of the time, and I say little, because I don't know if you know me personally, I am a big girl. And whenever I look at myself and compare it to that tiny little man, short little dwarf, standing in the pulpit and telling me that God spoke to him, this same God who we are all praying to, who didn't speak to me, he's lying. This is how I view it, and I have always viewed it like that. Of course, I rectify. This is your job. And maybe they say, where two or three are gathered, there am I. So, where two or three are gathered and we go to church, and a man
He's
is standing there doing the job he is being paid for so that he translates the Bible, do not go beyond anything else. Cameroon, Senegal, and all the places where my friends come from, I know we have one similar problem. Marriage seems to be the be all and end all of life. It is not. I grew up in a world where my father's sisters, only one of them married. He had five. He had other sisters as well, but from his mother and father, there were five. Only one married. The rest of them, one of them was the first nurse who went to university and did it. It's all over Facebook at the moment. The other one brought girl guide, education, etc. One of them sold Princess Margaret's wedding dress.
Ooh.
Look, I want you all to know that women, you alone can do things. It is based on that power that Candy, I survived today. You all can do things for yourself. You all can do things for yourself. You all can pray for yourself. This show today is an emotionally charged show because there is pain in it, there is realization in it, and there are questions of doubt in it. These questions of doubt are, why are you allowing somebody else to control your life? Why? Look, if your friend is in a marriage where everything she tells you, and I'm not saying everything is good, but when she tells you that everything is fine, expect from us. And I came to a point where I realized that society is killing us. If you pay attention to what people say outside, you will die. If you pay attention to what people expect of you, you will die. You should always live your life to suit yourself. If you have children, you have to live your life to suit yourself and your children. If you have a good man who is with you, then fine, you are blessed. But if you do not have a good man, then move away from the dangers of what has happened today. Let me tell you something else. I have read a lot of history, and I realized that there was a time when women were in control. If you look at the history of the Greeks, the Hellenic times, the women were the prophets, the prophetesses. They were doing things. Then it moved on to the men, and the men then took over and have ruled for a very long time. Women, take that power back. Take the power from those snivelly little men who stand in the pulpit. Don't do it. Stop it. I see people. Look, last month, was it last month? Last month, I met a lady in Tesco. Tesco is, anybody who's watching from outside of England, Tesco is a supermarket where we all buy things, rice, food, blah, 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 blah. And this lady was standing by the chicken, and she was feeling, I don't know, she was standing there looking at the chicken and feeling a bit weepy. I don't know what was going on with it. And busybody me, I was also looking at my chicken and wondering, oh, is this enough for a family of 6 and all of this? Yeah, I cook for in the weekend. It's me, my brother, my children, blah, 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 blah. So I was thinking, and then this woman burst into tears. So I'm wondering, maybe it's because the chicken is too expensive and she can't buy it. So I said to her, excuse me, and she looked at me and I said, oh, what is it? What's wrong? Are you okay? And she said, oh, she's just tired. And she funny enough, she's a nurse. She was a nurse. She's come from work. She's tired. She's feeling sad, and she's feeling fed up because she wanted to chicken and her man wants steak and they can't. I said, what? Point me to any steak. I'll pay for it. Just point me to the steak you want. I'll pay for it. I want to pay for this your steak. So she's looking at me. I've given you. You will be amazed. What to these pastors? A comment on this has been that there is a market for the pastors, and that is why they are there. Let us stop that market. When did you start believing in these people, my people? Why? Pray for yourself. Call somebody. Call somebody. And let me tell you, I have friends. I know my good friends, and I know my terrible friends. I have naughty friends. I have bad friends. Oh, I have them. We club, we drink the vodka and every other mixture we can do. I have them. And then I have my friends who, in all of these things, they have my back. I'll tell you something. Yesterday, or was it the day before, me and 2 of my friends, these friends, I've had them for years. We go, we come, we separate, we come together. We are in different countries. In fact, the interesting thing is that day, yes, nights ago, we were in different. One was in America, one was in Ghana, and me. We talked from 8 o'clock till 2 a.m. We nonsense talk. But we were so, I don't know, it was like as if God was there in the middle. We spoke our pain, our heads, our this. It was so nice. I went to bed. I was so happy. I woke up and I exulted. People, you have God in all of you. God is there in all of you. God is in all of us. Stop believing in a snivelly little man standing in the pulpit. I tell you, even if he's little, he's little to me. Stop it. It is good to go to church because, as I said previously, where 2 or 3 are gathered, when you are in fellowship too, it's nice. But don't make that as if it is the end of the world. No. If we start to believe in ourselves and if we start to see how wonderful God is, our lives will change. And when our lives change, we will begin to see the wonder of God. Somebody said I sound like I've got the calling. This is me. This is me when I'm just kind of like all over the place. But I'm telling you now, seriously, that what happened to that girl scared me. It frightened me. There are evil people lurking in the shadows under the guise of Christ. And that is the most terrible, frightening thing of all. Let me tell you another thing that we're not aware of, but evil is manifesting with this COVID. And so people need to become aware that we need to be careful how we lead our lives, what we say to our children, how we deal with our relationships, friendships, marriages, etc. Women, you have a lot of power. You have so much power that you don't even know it. And when you see your power, that is when your life will change. I have seen a little bit of mine, and it has taken me for 20 years. I have seen this power. I have prayed with it. I have done things with it. I have even my friendships. Don't get it wrong. I drink. I am not a pastor. I do all sorts of things. I dance. I am crazy. But I am very aware of God's power. And that is what you all need to know. You all need to know that God is within you, God is beside you, God is near you. And these pastors must not get a foot into your door, your house. Somebody is saying there are good pastors out there. It is true, but I'll tell you that they are few. Now, do you have time to sift through to find the best one? Have you got time? No, I don't have time. So, I don't know what else my ladies want to say because I think I've spoken so much today. When really I interview people and ask them their own thing. But today, in view of Barbara, and may she rest in peace, because we forget she was 22 years old. All my children are older than 22. All my children are older than 22. Can you imagine the pain of her mother? The pain of her mother, her sister, all of them are older than her siblings. How can this happen? She was 22 when she married this stupid man, this evil man. And he married her in the power of being a priest, a pastor. How? What happened to her is a big tragedy. forgetting. Let us, notwithstanding the fact that it is a Ghanaian, so the whole of Ghana is in the American news being talked about how a Ghanaian has killed somebody. Oh my God. But then again, you go and think about this girl. How? And she was so beautiful and so pure and so good. She was teaching Sunday school. Everybody who has a daughter should think about it. Ladies, I don't know what more to say, unless you want to say something more. Because I don't know, I didn't plan to say any of what I've said today.
Sometimes you have to go with the spirit, isn't it?
Oh,
And it is painful. I don't know what compelled him. I want to believe that, you know, he's now sitting down and albeit very late in the day. But again, it boils down to women and parents and in fact everybody. How do you raise? I still go back to the question: how do you raise? How do you raise your children? Let's not put all the emphasis on women. The woman needs to raise the child like this. A confident girl. You need to raise confident men who are confident. Men who don't feel that it's the woman who has to do everything for them. A man who, if this man had confidence in himself, and I would like to believe raised properly, he would know, okay, this one, I shouldn't hit my wife or anyone. And if the marriage isn't working, I can leave and the world doesn't end. I can go into another relationship. And then on the woman's side, I understand it can be very difficult, but what is more valuable, your life or being in a relationship because you want to be Mrs. Somebody? I don't know. What is it? What is the value? What is having that tag Mrs. adding to your life? If it's going to make you lose your life, and if that's any takeaway for anyone here, is, why do we feel that we have to have a tag of Mrs. for us to believe that we are important? I'm a pastor's wife, I'm Mrs. this, I'm a Mrs. that, only for you to be, devalued and hit and abused and now killed. I'd rather be single and be alive,
Michaela, do you have anything to say?
I would say that any woman who finds herself in Barbara's position, please do not stay. I think you need to go because you need to save your life. Your life matters and it's yours. Protect it. You can't leave your life in the hands of someone else. I think so. And like Charlene said, or you said, women need to support themselves. We should be there for each other. And it's important that we have that backbone where there's this woman there who will support me. Yes, we will have men in our lives who will support us, but we still need a woman to be there for us as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Charlene.
Do not ignore the red flags. We do, as women, ignore red flags. In the dating process, please, when you pick up signals of a controlling person, an insanely jealous person, I mean, at this point, not only women, men too, because there are some very abusive women. I know we're looking for women today. However, in the dating process, when you see these red flags, control, belittling, trying to take you away from your friends, you have to know it's a gradual process. You'll move from one stage, it will be verbal abuse, it can be emotional abuse, and it can escalate to physical abuse. My dad always said to me, listen, my daughter, don't ever let any man hit you. Because if he hits you once and you let him get away with it, you might be brought back to me in a box. You can decide to take anything, but please, please, please. You have 8 brothers. If need be, when you are hit, call them to come and hit him too. If you want to stay, let him feel how it feels to be hit by a man. So, women, please, stop saying he will change. Stop blaming yourselves. My brothers out there, please, for heaven's sake, when you are courting a woman, if you feel she's out of your league, just bounce. Don't try to get her and mold her into what you want by bringing her down to your level. You're killing her spirits. Rebels like me fight back. So my brothers, uncles, nephews out there, animals play in sizes. Look for your kind
Monkeys.
and roll along the person. Do not take an accomplished woman and try to make her a housewife. If you're an accomplished man, do not take a dumb woman. Trust me, the frustration will get real and the abuse will start. Go for a woman on your level and build together. If you are both dumb, it works. If you are both highly intelligent, there'll be a few brushes. It won't work. Do not go for someone out of your league. Don't go up or down. This is where the abuse, because if you have same kind of mentality, you can think there'll be clashes, but you can sort things out. Try and see a woman as your helpmate. This, I married you, so you must do what I say. How about me birthing you? Remember, every woman, every man came out of a woman. How about me reminding you a woman birthed you 9 months before you became a being? Yes, the man is supposed to be the head of the household. Doesn't mean you have to abuse a woman. Also, my last point is this submission thing. Your wife submits to you. Do not take it on every woman you see out there. That pomposity doesn't work. The frustration gets real. You tend to be abusive. So please, my brothers and my nephews and my cousins, see women as your helpmates, not as your maidservants, not as your, sex slaves, but as partners who are there to build each other up. I hope what I'm saying will touch some men and women out there. And whatever their errors are, try to build. I'm working on me. I'm a rebel. I'm trying so hard to be a bit submissive, but that is what I wasn't brought up to not question, not to take things hook, line, and sinker. My dad brought me up to question, to be respectful, but question. So please, sometimes when women are questioning, don't take it as we're being disrespectful. Inquiring minds want to know. We all learn daily. Knowledge. There's not one person who knows everything apart from the Almighty God. He knows when
Amen.
you are going
Amen.
to
Oh.
come into this world, and He knows your exit date. So aside that man, we are all mere mortals. We are all bound to make mistakes. So we learn. Learning is a process. So I'm done. I hope I have touched the heart of a man or woman, one man who might be controlling and giving his wife help. I might have touched a woman who is also, so into pastor says this, so I'm not even going to listen to what my husband says. Listen to his foolishness first, if you deem it so, and then try to reason up. If I were a man and a woman comes and says, pastor says this, so women, let's try. Thank you all, and have a good night.
Well, Charlene, thank you very much for your final word. Everyone has had a final word, I guess. Does anyone want to say anything more? But this all brings us back to my thought for the week. My thought for the week, if you didn't listen in the beginning, it is this: choose your associations wisely. Surround yourself with good company. Build a strong support system that is loyal and faithful and true. As you grow, you will realize that there